Hi everyone, welcome to this video on lesson 8 of the reproduction scheme of work, the final lesson in this scheme on human reproduction. And this lesson is all about gestation. And as I've said in the previous, I think 4 videos, I think it's really helpful to frame this mini sequence of lessons. We're framing everything around this idea of fertilization. Fertilization, I think, is the key idea that students need to understand. This idea that a male sex cell and a female sex cell have to somehow combine in order to produce a new organism. But that from lesson 4 onwards, we've kept coming back to the menstrual cycle. And it's just really helpful because it tells a story that we can then that students can then use to make sense of what's going on. And these different arrows show different possibilities, possible events that happen in the story that help organize it. So just to recap very quickly on the menstrual cycle, we said actually it kind of makes sense sometimes to start from here, so that the egg starts to be produced here at the end of the period. So the period or menstruation starts at day 1, but then this is where the kind of sort of logically it seems to begin, because the egg starts being produced, the uterus lining starts to thicken. Then we get the egg released at day 14, as we saw before, and then there's this fork in the road, so either fertilization doesn't occur and we just start again, or fertilization does occur. And I just wanted to bring it back to this because, again, if we are building on students' prior knowledge, then they're much more likely to remember it than if we're just blasting a load of stuff at them without any context. And really all we're doing in this lesson is essentially continuing this story of how if fertilization does occur and we can show that the sperms meet the egg inside the oviduct, they fuse together, and then the cells start to reproduce. And after that, implantation occurs, and then all of the action that we're going to talk about during today's lesson is happening after here. So really, it's these steps happening after here, what happens after implantation. And actually, it's a nice lesson because if I just go back, I'm going to do this is my blue Peter moment. Here's one I prepared earlier. Well, actually, what we're doing is referring back to the diagram that we drew right at the beginning of this scheme of work. Moving from fertilization through this gestation period to the birth of the baby at 9 months. Now, once you've kind of framed it in that sense, and you know, you can decide what diagrams you want to draw. You may wish to draw no diagrams, although I think it's really helpful to refer back to the menstrual cycle in every lesson, because that's been organized in students' ideas. But actually all we're doing now, rather than doing these little pictures, we're just kind of zooming in on what's going on, if I return to here, inside the uterus. And then you'll see there's slides there. You might wish to draw them, but to be honest, I probably wouldn't be drawing this stuff. It's quite complicated. But yeah, students need to be they need to understand the role of the placenta, the umbilical cord, the cervix, and so on, fluid sac, all of that business. I guess, yeah, I'm just the purpose of this video is to advocate from a curriculum point of view how you're going to organize that information that you're going to then transmit to students. And again, as we've seen throughout this scheme, it all comes back to fertilization. And once fertilization's occurred, yeah, everything they learn about in the gestation lesson is to help that fertilized egg, this is the key moment, grow into a new human being. So hopefully it's pretty straightforward after that. That's just an idea of how you can introduce this and build on students' prior knowledge. And that's it for human reproduction. In the next lesson of this scheme, we will start to look at plants. The good news is the key idea that runs through the lessons on plant reproduction are exactly the same as the ones that have been running through human reproduction. It all comes back to fertilization. And if students can see the parallels between what's happened in human beings and what happens in plants, then they've got a really good chance of understanding it and remembering all of that stuff. And there's lots of stuff about plants, but they've got a really good chance of remembering it and taking that to their further studies.